All right, welcome to As If Quarantine Basement Tapes. I'm Associate Editor Chris Fraser, and I'm here with the beautiful and talented Miss Sheila Vand. How are you feeling today, honey?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for talking to me.
Of course, we're very excited to have you. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this. I know you got a lot of projects going on, including your first one I want to talk to you about, The Rental. That's your latest horror film, correct?
That's right.
All right, and we first became familiar with you, well, the public, for your film, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. That was a foreign language film, correct?
Yeah, we shot it in America and it was an American
Mm-hmm.
production, but it's all in Farsi and it takes place in a fictional town in Iran.
Amazing, amazing. So, can you tell us what led more to the rental and to go into us in detail about that project?
Yeah, Dave Franco reached out to me about this role in this movie, and I was really excited by the chance to work with him and the rest of this cast. I love everybody in this cast. I think they're all so talented. So I was excited by the chance to work with these people. And then also, I love doing genre movies and I love doing horror films because you get a chance as an actor to be a lot bigger than you normally are and to kind of
Mm.
just go further emotionally. I feel like in your performances, because in horror movies, it's like the scale of uh, of what's going on, the danger is dialed up. Everything's just a lot more heightened. So I was excited for a chance to do another horror film, and it was cool the way Dave wanted to approach it, which was to make something that was just as much about characters and relationships as it was about horror thrills. So I was excited to see how he would blend those together, and it was really fun to do that.
Now, did you formally train as an actress, or did you just happen to it as a career field?
Well, technically, I formally trained. Went to theater school. I went to UCLA and have some really great memories from there. But
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like a lot of my training actually happened in the real world through experience. And I'm always
Oh, absolutely.
advocate.
Directors can sometimes be the best teachers.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like consider myself that trained, to be honest. I'm not one of those like actors who swears by some technique or is
Mm-hmm.
technical in general. I treat every project differently, every role differently, like how I get into it. And I have some tools I'm really grateful for that I got from school, but I'm always somebody who advocates for life experience. And because I feel like there's a lot of people who can't afford to go to college or they don't
Uh-huh.
for various reasons and it discourages them. So I just want people to know, like, even if you don't get in, or even if you get in and you get cut or you don't get the parts you want when you're in college, like that's not really necessarily reflective of what will happen once you get into the real world.
So, how do you approach embodying a character?
That's such a great question and one that I always have a bit of a difficult time answering, because it's, again, like I said, it depends on the role. It depends on like the director. Some directors are
Mm-hmm.
very collaborative. So I'll have as many conversations as I can with the filmmaker because it came from their imagination. The writer knows so much about the world they created. So I try to get as many clues as I can and information from the script itself, from the people who created the script. And then from there, there's a kind of a balance of figuring out things in my own life that connect to it, and just getting like really into the psychology of the character, like what have they been through in their life and how does that shape the way they behave in this movie. And
Mm.
even from things like really kind of concrete, like their physical appearance, like what does their hair look like, what kind of clothes do they wear. I try to like have a lot of conversations, as many as the filmmaker will let me, about those things, because for me sometimes like hair and makeup and costume get dismissed, like, oh, whatever, those are just like external.
No. Even the way a
It's
character dresses, like the way they wear a garment, that can like change their whole physicality. Like people don't even think about these things.
it's an extension of who you are, and it's like yeah, I think it's all those things are opportunities to tell the story of this character. So sometimes it's just like just from the hair and makeup and the costume I'll feel transformed, and sometimes if it's like, okay, it's a little more naturalistic, it's my hair kind of looks like my hair looks every day, then I
Mm-hmm.
do a little more like psychological work. And that's just, yeah, a combo of taking from experiences in my own life and putting them into it so it textures the character, and sometimes it's more about thinking of this person who I'm not and being like, how would they react to this situation? And I think backstory is really important to me. And then also I try to like make a timeline of the script so that there's a trajectory of like, where does the character start and where do they end? And how can I realistically get from point A to point B and make it feel believable and like it's a real person. That's always my biggest goal, is just I want audiences to feel like this person really exists. That it's not Sheila, it's whoever the character is.
So you seem to have a lot of fun with the horror genre. So what attracts you to horror?
It's funny, to be honest with you. I didn't watch horror movies that much growing up because I'm a very nervous person. I'm very honest about it.
Yeah.
Erotic. I have, all the normal anxieties that most of us have today. So when I was growing up, I was like, I don't understand horror movies. Like, why would you want to add fear to like a world that's already kind of scary? But now I have done a total 180. And for me, I feel like horror movies actually let me release my fear a little bit. Like I get to just like let some of it out. And sometimes it's nice to, in a safe space of a horror movie, like let yourself just get scared and freaked out instead of the way it feels in the real world, where it's like you don't have that much control over the crazy things that happen in this world. We don't have that much control, but in a movie it's a safe space. And then the other thing I love about horror movies are horror fans. I like really gotta shout out horror fans. I just think they're like some of the most loyal, diehard fans out there, and it's just amazing. It makes me feel loved, and it makes me feel like I have a community because I've now done a couple of horror and genre films, and like I said before, I feel like the heightened nature of them allows me to take more risks sometimes as an actress and to be in a different world, because naturalism, it's just like a reflection of our world. But
Yes.
sci-fi, when I do horror, it's like, okay, we get to pretend like a little hard.
You get to go to heights that you normally wouldn't get to go to.
Right, yeah.
And you're right about horror fans being loyal. Look at how many installments there are of Scream.
I know, all of them. I mean, people like are ready for sequels and will track these things, and I think it's great. Like we put so much work into what we do, and sometimes it feels like it just goes into a vacuum or it just gets forgotten. But when you have fans and viewers who really feel touched by something, who really get excited by something, it makes me feel like we're doing something that matters, I guess.
So in addition to being a film actress, you also have your own one-woman shows and performance works and various things like that. So you got one that got a lot of press recently called Sneaky Nietzsche.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago, a handful of years ago, and it was so special to me. To this day, it's one of the things I'm the most proud of. It was this immersive theatrical experience, is the best way I can put it. It was part show, part party, part just like being in another world. And with an amazing team of people, I created an underground forest in a basement it's perfect for basement tapes, in a basement. It was like a real underworld that we created. And yeah, we use like real trees and real dirt and tree stumps to build an entire forest. And the audience members would go through a picture frame on a wall to enter this world. And then I performed singing a bunch of original songs that were tied together kind of conceptually. And again, my idea was just, I guess I'm obsessed with transporting into other worlds, like creating other spaces where we can escape to that, and we can just kind of like let our freak flags fly a little bit. Like that was the point of Sneaky Nietzsche, was I wanted to create not only art, but some nightlife for people like me who like love dancing and love music, but they're not club kids. Like I don't go to the club. But I want to have a space too where I can go and be a weirdo and dance and feel free. So that was what that project was, and I really want to do more of that kind of experiential stuff once we're allowed to all hang out in person again.
So what's the fundamental difference between your acting and your performance art?
I definitely feel like I get a chance to be weirder with my performance stuff. Like I get to just like push the box a little more, and also to be the writer and director is such a different thing. Like it works a different muscle in me, and I feel like I need that. I need that kind of creativity
Yeah.
that is like completely born out of my own crazy head. When I'm acting, I'm servicing somebody else's vision, which is also fun and exciting and something that I'm grateful to do. But when it's something I've written, it's just pure my imagination, and I need that outlet to express myself. I have so many feelings and thoughts and ideas, and I really start to feel crushed when I don't let them out. So yeah, it just works this more kind of like intellectual part of my brain. And I also like that position. I like bringing people together, and I feel like when I'm making my own stuff, when I'm directing and writing, I get to do that. So, but I love both. I thrive when I have a good balance between the two things.
So you seem very selective about the type of projects you take on, from even what you do as a performance artist, to even being really particular about your film roles. What attracts you to the type of projects you do?
Yeah, it's important to me to try to have like a good amount of integrity. Sorry, I keep moving the computer around.
No, it's fine.
It's a quarantine world where I'm like not used to filming myself. Uh, but yeah, what I was saying is that I try, of course, like having integrity and quality to my work is important to me because it's more rewarding for me. But also, I appreciate anyone out there who follows my work, and I want when they see my name to know, okay, this is going to be a good movie. Actually, someone today made a comment on my Instagram about this that meant so much to me. That was just like, gosh, I feel like every time your name comes up, I feel like it's going to be a good film. And that meant so much because I'm like, that's
Wow, that's what you want to hear as an actress.
and it's not always like a hit, you know. There's when you take risks, sometimes it's great and sometimes you fail. That's the nature of taking a risk. So you know, I'm not trying to say, oh, every single thing I've done is great, but I do think I'm mostly striving to do things that push boundaries, that have good representation in them, that are inclusive in their casting and their what they're trying to say, that are like sensitive and strange. And those are the things that attract me to something. And also the people working on it. Like if I like the work they've done, then I feel like yeah, I just have more trust when I know there's a certain amount of integrity to something.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's always about trusting the process too. Like every project's like work for you as an actor. It's a new step, it's a new journey, it's a new part of your craft as well.
Yeah, I learn each time. I try to just get better for the next thing, you know.
So you've also got another film, Please Sharon the Shot's Land of Dreams.
Yeah, we did a couple short films together that premiered at the Broad Museum in LA, and now we're going to make the feature film version of it. So that's been a unique kind of journey because there were these like short versions that were more kind of for the art world, and we got to explore this world we were developing and these characters, and then now we have this feature film version of it. I'm super excited for that. We were supposed to shoot it this year, and hopefully we still can. I mean, hopefully we'll get to do it. And I know there's examples of people coming back. I've also heard like Europe has really started up again.
So we're actually profiling Chiron Nichette for as if for the fall issue. So I don't know if we ran that by you at all, but
She is a legend. She's, you know, this beautiful, incredible Iranian American visual artist who's been making work for like 30 years now. And she's big in the art world. I think this movie is going to give her a big splash in the film world too, hopefully. Although she's made amazing movies before, she has that film called Women Without Men, which is really beautiful. And she's incredible. She's somebody who was a role model for me because growing up, you know, there were not very many Middle Eastern women who had the chance to do things. So I recently was telling her how much she's paved the way, and it's just, it means so much, you know, to see reflections of yourself out there, to see yourself represented, and this is why, is because it gives you that confidence, like I could do it too, and that I deserve to be here and have a seat at the table. And when she did it, there was no one who looked like us at the table. So I'm super proud. I'm just grateful to be working with her. It's an honor.
how's it feel to be one of the few Middle Eastern actresses getting to break down the boundaries right now? Because you It goes back to that quote Viola Davis had. Um, My existence is a form of protest, I think it was, because when you exist as both a woman and a person of color in these very white male dominated spaces, like just walking into a room, you're already going against the grain of the norm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said that it's not been without its difficulties, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to keep pushing, but I have days where that perseverance is exhausting and hard because it does feel like the chips are constantly stacked against you. And I'm happy for all of these like seismic cultural shifts that have been happening these last few years, and especially this year, because for a long time I felt like the world was sick and it needed some healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but a lot of that stuff's come up to the surface, and it's up and down. Sometimes I'm like, I feel this pressure, like I can't quit because like there's so few of us out here. I got to keep going, and I will, but I also have days where I'm just like, I don't know. Like when you hear enough times that like, when you just get shoved to the side enough times, sometimes it's like you do take that in and you're like, well, do I deserve to be on the sidelines? And you just have to keep telling yourself no. And it isn't true. It's just systems of oppression. And I love Viola Davis saying that. I feel like that's so powerful. Beyonce also said something kind of along the same lines when the protests were at their height, where I think she said Black excellence is a form of protest. And I thought that was so beautiful too, of like just definitely existing, but also succeeding is,
Mm-hmm.
against all odds. I felt empowered by that statement and by the fact that like, sometimes with all that's going on, like sometimes I start to feel like, oh my God, why am I an artist? I should just be a politician. I should be a social justice warrior. But those things don't feel like my calling in the same way as telling stories does. And so I felt some liberty and permission and power when she said, that being excellent, living up to yourself, especially when you're Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, is also protest. It is pushing back. So I don't know, between Viola Davis and Beyonce, there's a lot to be
Yeah, and
inspired by.
just you creating work too, and like having representations of Middle Eastern women, that in itself is a form of protest. When there's still so much Islamophobia and prejudice and like anti-Middle Eastern sentiment in the world too. Like,
Yeah,
and even though it's not like like the kind of like on the ground social justice work people might think of, people seeing art speaks to life, and like people seeing these representations can change their minds. Like humanizing stories can change people's minds.
absolutely. Yeah, I do believe that, and I do stay like politically and socially active too. But
Mhm.
um, I think all of these things like go into culture and film and TV and art, and music. These are huge. These are what make up culture. And so, yeah, and it's just like I see it in my own life experience growing up, the way movies helped me get through things, music helped me get through things, art has like given me some sense of purpose and meaning. So yeah, I do think I'm one of those people who definitely thinks it's part of our responsibility to make sure when we put stuff out, we're not perpetuating violence and we're not perpetuating stereotypes and hate. And I know there's so many people who feel like, oh God, what a drag about that stuff. But I just like, I can't, I'm like, can I swear on your show?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to tell those people to fuck off because, like, how dare they roll their eyes at the idea of making the world a safer space for more people? And I actually think that,
100%.
yeah, it's cheap to make art that is like if your art offends people in a way like, and I don't mean good offensive, I don't mean offensive in the sense that you're like challenging norms and
Hmm.
pushing boundaries. I'm talking about offensive like you're perpetuating hate, then you need to rethink what you're making.
How was it working and being directed by the legend Sheeran?
It was so amazing. She is just like the most egoless person that I have ever worked with, I have to say, like especially considering the fact that she is, well into her career, an established world-renowned artist. Um, I I'm just like always really taken aback by how humble she is, how collaborative she is. She puts the work first in a way that is so beautiful, because this is an industry where ego often comes before quality. Shireen is just, yeah, she's just so collaborative, so like she makes the process really personal, which I really appreciate. Like a lot of the people she works with, she's worked with for many, many years. So it feels like a family. And
Oh my God, that's an amazing feeling.
yeah, it's not just this like I'm the director and everyone else is below me. It's like she really brings everybody up and makes everybody feel valued and important. And I think they are important to her process, to any process, because she lets them in. And I think it creates better work because she does that. She's not afraid of like other people expressing their ideas, um, in a way that I have experienced in the past with some other creators who, you know, if it's not their idea, then I don't think they necessarily want to hear it. That's
Mm.
fair, it's your style, but that's not her style at all. And yeah, she just makes me feel safe, and I always do better work when I feel safe and I feel comfortable. And there's some directors that are just really tyrannical, where they think they could get better work out of an actor by like shaming them and condescending them, and they think they're pushing you, but to me I'm like, no, that's just your insecurity. And I just shut down in those situations. I'm like, you're not helping me do better. And so I really appreciate like, and again, I'm not trying to say I need to be babysat on set, but when somebody makes me feel comfortable, I'm able to play more. I'm able to kind of let
Hmm.
my spirit out, and I can start to just be more organic, because I I think I'm experienced enough now where I can turn in a solid performance pretty easily. But for me to get to that sweet spot where I think the work is really where I want it to be, I have to feel very free. And I'm very grateful for Shireen for giving me those spaces and making me feel like I'm good enough to, you know, improvise and give my input and just relax into the role, which I hope, you know, when we did the short films together, it was just a much more contained and small version of it.
Hmm.
So I just can't wait to like get into it again in the feature film version.
So, all your years of acting at this point, what does acting give you?
I It's such a good question you ask, because sometimes I get so down on it, but the truth is like I wouldn't be doing it still if I wasn't in love with it. So I think definitely disappearing, getting the chance to escape a bit my own life, my own crazy mental gymnastics that are always going on in my brain. Um, it gives me that. It gives me an outlet, and also I'm an emotional and sensitive person. So for me, acting is like the best art form for emotions. You know, like we're like, to me, like painters of emotion, and paint like psychological kind of engineers in a way.
Love that
So
quote.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do. I get that out of it. I feel like I get to release feelings. I get to go into a situation where no one's, I mean, it isn't like a judgment free zone, because I'm always so worried about how good the performance is going to be and making sure it's, you know, hitting the marks and stuff. But you do get a little bit of a sense of escape. And also, I love the community. I really like being on set. I like it's weird because I'm an introvert in a lot of ways, or like an antisocial extrovert, or some version of those things. But I love being on set, actually. I love the fact that like you can just stop and look around a set, and it's like this tiny village of people all working towards the same goal. And we're all doing it because we're just like little weirdos who didn't want to grow up. You know, we
Never
just want
stop playing
to make.
pretend.
Exactly, yeah. So there's like a certain kind of weirdo that this industry attracts, and I feel at home amongst them.
Thank you so much for your time, Sheila. It has been a fantastic time speaking with you.
You, it's so great to talk to you too.
Absolutely, 100%. And hopefully, we'll be in touch. I look forward to seeing some of your films.
Thank you. Yeah, let's talk again soon for the
All
next one.
right. You have a
Bye.
good day now, dear.
Very cool.
I'll try.
Hot.